Sentiments of this kind are contrary to the principles of inclusion and respect that form the foundation of our diverse, multicultural, and multi-ethnic league.
Those two words are effective immediately, like a ton of bricks. In a move nobody, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, anticipated. Brittney Griner has been given a lifetime prohibition. No second chances, no appeals, just a quick and cruel conclusion to a career that once outlined the future of the league. However, this goes beyond basketball. A tempest has been building behind the scenes. An enormous audio leak-filled one. Unspoken secrets and mounting misgivings of something much darker. Thus, is this a cover-up or a punishment? Right in front of you? Now, let's discuss the information. From celebrity to controversy, the startling Brittney Griner's downfall. It all began like a scene from a motion picture. The podium and cameras were illuminated, rolled, and then Adam Silver appeared, entered, and sent a shockwave that the whole sports world was rocked. No build-up, no soft opening, only a flat proclamation devoid of feeling. Griner, Brittney, is permanently barred from the WNBA. Not a suspension rather than a fine. Banned. Deleted. Removed from the league she formerly assisted. Describe. Jaws didn't in that moment simply fall, they broke. This wasn't merely a celebrity getting into problems. This was the largest WNBA icon is being removed. As if she didn't exist. For decades, Griner was more than a mere athlete. She was the WNBA. With gold medals from the Olympics, All-Star appearances, stats that break records, and more endorsement agreements than the majority of players. Never imagined, she literally stood tall and metaphorically in the middle of the branding machine of the league. From Nike advertisements, from dunk to leadership summits, competitions for interviews at night, she was all over, but now gone, as if that. No farewell, no tour of the press, just quiet. Adam Silver remained unflinching. He took the initiative to that microphone and explained everything in detail. A protracted, comprehensive internal inquiry had discovered what he referred to as a unsettling behavioral trend. This wasn't about a single poor decision. It was countless layers of violations, breaching the law, disputes behind the scenes, and ties are the most explosive of all. To something considerably more sinister. Supposed corruption, refereeing, and match-fixing. Manipulation. Silver clarified that this had to do with preserving the sport's integrity. However, how did it arrive at this stage? How did America's Brittney Griner, sweetheart, you went from being a hero to an outsider? In actuality, this storm has been long period of brewing. It simply hadn't made landfall as of yet. The whispers had begun, circulated months or even years ago. Long time ago. Minor issues at first, disagreements in the changing area, disregard for teammates, conflict with coaches and officials. Then the more somber charges, disregarding league rules, disregarding training plans, arriving, wandering about, and arriving late to team events, as if the regulations didn't exist. A few dismissed it as the behavior of a superstar. Others cautioned that it was only the beginning of an enormous iceberg. However, the league remained silent. Do you know why? Griner was drawn to it. She increased the number of viewers, sold full arenas, and received media coverage, observing her every action. The WNBA required her, or believed they did. Thus, the red flags were ignored until they were unable to no longer be buried. At last, the scandal exploded when specific games began to appear suspicious. Referees are making odd phone calls, changes in momentum at strange moments. It was noted by fans, analysts, discussed it in whispers, and at last someone couldn't handle it within the league no longer and raised their voice. At that point, Silver started the inquiry that would flipped the league on its head. What they discovered, according to insiders, was damning. An extensive network of influence outside of the courtroom. Supposed conversations between the referees and Griner. Inexplicable. Discussions in the locker room prior to important games. Next comes the tangible evidence. Texts, emails that were leaked, and even recordings. Phone conversations, authorities were let go. Executives and internal information that were leaked. Panicked. The name Griner was all over the place. Being a diva wasn't the only thing at stake. This had to do with changing results, approximately. Taking control of the system from within. Additionally, in a sport that values fairness, you just don't cross that line. Adam Silver made it apparent that any danger to the integrity of the game would be matched with the worst punishment conceivable. We now arrive at the core of the issue, the commissioner's function in the situation. The true question, though, is this. Was he only doing this to keep the league? Or is there something more profound? Is he keeping it from us? Hold on to your screen because the next thing that happens will blow your thoughts. The silent role of the commissioner. In the aftermath of the Griner, Engelbert, Kathy, was never intended to be included in the scandal. The shield was supposed to be her, the one who controlled the league, who ensured adherence to regulations and reputations remained untarnished. However, she's in the story, not just a part of it. Storm's eye. Sources near the league claims that Engelbert was aware of the rumors that existed before Adam Silver took that microphone. Subtle alerts, private emails, and silence. Players' grievances about closed doors. Still, she said nothing. Why? Things become hazy at that point. Some claim she was attempting to preserve the reputation of the WNBA to maintain clean headlines, and the sponsors are pleased. Some people think she just lacked the courage to confront Griner, who has sway over the league, was expanding more quickly than anyone else anticipated. In any case, her inability to take prompt action only permitted the controversy to escalate into something far more sinister, much more difficult to contain. Engelbert is currently under. Fans are calling for her and an investigation. Resignation. Griner isn't the only topic anymore. The entire disciplinary procedure in the league has being deprived of Engelbert and transferred to Silver's group. That's how this has gotten really serious. This mess did not occur in a single day. It expanded gradually, silently, just to come tumbling down. When some courageous voices within the finally locker rooms agreed to talk out. In their absence, it may have all remained unseen. Furthermore, these weren't just newcomers or athletes seeking pay attention. These, however, were the league's Caitlin Clark and other rising stars, future legends Sophie Cunningham and the creation. Insiders claim that they stood up and delivered a strong testimonies from behind the scenes that revealed, pulling back the curtain on the ongoing continue. They didn't use ambiguous language. They provided information, certain games, dubious calls, instances when, as the tide turned, Griner's team appeared to gain from choices that simply didn't make sense. Additionally, the league did not write it off as paranoia. They possessed recordings, sound snippets playing in private meetings, one in which Griner was purportedly overheard talking directly to officials, talking about pressure points and important matches before the games. This wasn't merely a trash-talking celebrity. This was strategic deception behind the scenes. Additionally, based on sources, is what ultimately made the league take action. Consider it. If Clark and Cunningham had opted to remain quiet, had any of this been revealed? Or would Griner continue to rule? Her highlight reel headlines while the truth was buried by the league? That's the cooling phase. The league wasn't involved. Leadership that made the corruption clear. It was the actual players. Then came the resistance. The ban of the second Griner was declared, and her camp proceeded to the offensive. Attorneys were employed, the general public, teams for relations were activated, and insiders claim they're getting ready for a complete legal retaliation. Their message: this wasn't fair. The job was a hit. They are claiming that the penalty is too harsh. And driven by politics, they're requesting access to each and every file, recording each and every bit of proof the league has. However, this is where things get even more contorted. Gurrier's group asserts that she is being utilized as a false victim, a diversion from more serious problems that the league does not wish for the public to view. That she is being disciplined, not for her actions, but rather for who she is, for questioning leadership, for being overly assertive, loud, and influential in an unprepared area, for her strength. Additionally, if her group is telling the truth or twisting, one thing is undoubtedly far from over. If it arrives in court, anticipate secrets to leak, covert transactions, backroom politics, and names that have not yet come to light. Thus, consider this: is Brittney Griner thrown beneath the bus in order to shield someone or something much larger? Now, let's discuss the gender bombshell. What if something is connected to the truth? Nobody was brave enough to say it aloud? Stay tuned. The gender of Brittney Griner. The WNBA is shaken by a bombshell. When it appeared that the mayhem had attained its zenith, the narrative took an even wilder twist. The type of twist that not only makes headlines but shatters them. The rumors that once lived anonymously and solely in locker rooms, forums gained widespread popularity. The